What is going on, guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be breaking down some broken mid laners in patch 7.39e. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the video. First hero we're going to be breaking down is Earthshaker. So Earthshaker has been really strong in the meta for a good while now, and I do see a lot of value in picking this hero from the mid lane. You have very good matchups against most of the mid laners that are being played right now in the meta. You also provide a lot of team fight and a lot of usability for your team because fissure blocks are super strong, super solid, and just fissure in general is one of your best abilities, as well as your echo slam. You really shut down a lot of enemy team fighting and the ability of them to cluster together, and just the fear of the echo slam sometimes is greater than the actual echo slam itself. It's kind of like Enigma in a way, where if Enigma has black hole and you know he does, you're always going to be worried and you're going to be so much more careful, and you're not going to try and go for all these crazy plays because you know an Earthshaker might be there looming, trying to get a really big echo slam. And we've all seen the 5-man echo slams. It's honestly one of the greatest feeling as an Earthshaker player to get these massive echo slams. But even if you're not getting those, you're going to be providing a lot for your team, and you're also coming online super quick. All you need is a blink dagger, start to rotate from the side lanes and just start getting pickoffs. It's a hero that can play just super active without the need of echo slam. Thanks to your fissure and your enchant totem, you're able to stay relevant around the map even when echo slam is on cooldown. Obviously, if echo is on cooldown, you're not playing as aggressive, but you can still go for really nice plays with your team. Echo slam is just more or less a really strong initiation tool. You can still win team fights without it. I do see a lot of lower ranked shaker players just really not using the hero optimally. They just assume Earthshaker is only about the echo slam, and once echo's on cooldown, they just kind of AFK farm the entire game, and it's not really how Earthshaker is supposed to be played. The next hero we're going to be taking a look at is Queen of Pain. Now, Queen of Pain has been really strong for the last few patches, and she's doing quite well. It's one of these heroes that you guys do want to add to your arsenal. She's super easy to play, but she also has a pretty decent skill ceiling. She's having a really good time with the bondage facet. It returns spell damage, also works with your succubus passive. It does really well, and she has very good lane matchups. Even heroes like Earthshaker that are strong in the meta do not go toe to toe with the Queen of Pain when it comes to lane matchups. They have a very tough time. So if you do see an Earthshaker on the enemy team and you have a strong feeling that it's going to be in the mid lane, Queen of Pain is going to be a solid matchup. Earthshaker is a hero that, even though he does have quite a bit of mobility, especially if he gets an Aghanim Scepter, Queen of Pain has the blink, so she's able to outmaneuver around the fights more than the Earthshaker can. With her dagger, you're going to be able to just harass him out of lane, and your Scream of Pain, you just do overall too much damage for the Earthshaker to handle, and if you play your lane correctly, he should be out of lane, or at least be committing a lot of his gold into resources, especially with the likes of builds like Kai Assange, Blade Mail, Aghanim Scepter. It's going to keep you relevant around the map. But one thing I do have to say about Queen of Pain, you do need to farm on this hero. Just because she's strong and she has a really strong early game as well, doesn't mean the hero does not fall off. The hero does fall off if you do not have the farm. You can't just continue to constantly rotate around the map, especially if you're not being successful. If your ganks are landing and you're getting pickoffs, it's one thing, but if you start missing a couple of ganks, then just go back to farming. You can max Scream of Pain and continue to farm on this hero, and then you will be an absolute menace in the late game, especially if you go for tankier builds. Tank ability on Queen of Pain is no joke. Items like Eternal Shroud are super strong, as well as Kai Assange, just keeping you super tanky. All that spell lifesteal is always going to be absolutely fantastic for this hero, and a lot of people are absolutely sleeping on Queen of Pain. I have gone up against some really good quad players in the late game. They have really showed me how this hero can actually play in the late game. I used to think Queen of Pain was not that strong in the late game. These guys were absolutely pumping out damage, being extremely tanky, and just a really big nuisance, especially against blink buyers. Shadow Strike is just such an annoying ability. It just constantly keeps canceling your daggers, and nobody wants to pop BKB for that, and if you don't have any dispels, it can feel super annoying to get rid of it. The next hero we're going to be breaking down is going to be Leshrac. Leshrac is on a breed of its own. Diabolic Edict is just such a freaking strong tool right now. Misanthropy means you're going to be doing more damage, more explosions, and it also just doesn't do more building damage anymore, which for the longest part is why this ability was strong. You were able to take the mid tower very quickly, but when it comes to Diabolic Edict, this is the stronger version. This is what you want to be running, and if you're running against a mid laner without a lot of mobility, the Spirits pre-level 6 or heroes like Zeus, heroes like Earthshaker, these heroes that don't have a lot of mobility early on, you're able to just stick onto them thanks to your Diabolic Edict. It does so much freaking damage if you're able to stay right on top of them, and that's one of the reasons why Leshrac has been building Blink Dagger pretty consistently and almost first item for a lot of players. You're able to just stick around the targets and just go to town on them, and it's extremely hard to avoid. It's hard to get rid of this in the early game, and it's hard to just avoid this Leshrac. And most Leshrac players are building a lot of tanky items. I have gone up against this hero so many times where it feels like almost impossible to bring this hero down if itemized correctly. So don't be greedy on the Lesh, guys. Build tank ability and you will be sustaining around the team fights and shitting out damage. This hero is all about damage, so if you're able to survive, have enough mana regen, and also have that tank ability, you're gonna feel almost immortal on the Lesh. So items like Yule's, Kaya Sange, your Blink, your Eternal Shroud, your BKBs, these items are gonna keep you alive and keep you pumping out damage. As long as this hero's alive and has mana, it is going to be an absolute menace around the map, and I highly recommend the hero. His laning phase is a little bit difficult for some players, so I do recommend some playing time on the hero before you are cranking it out in rank. Make sure you guys understand what Lesh is all about, but if you are seasoned Leshrac players, this is the time to be playing Lesh. He does very, very well. He's pretty much in the best he's been in a while because Lesh hasn't been meta in a really long time. He finally is meta again and has been for a little bit now. And last but not least, guys, we're going to be breaking down Lone Druid. Now for this hero, you do have to be a specialist. For Lone Druid to be a broken hero, you have to understand how to play Lone Druid. This is a hero that you can easily feed on if you don't know what you're doing on him, but Lone Druid is by far an absolute menace. I think is one of the most broken heroes in Dota when it comes to it, but most players just don't understand how to play Lone Druid. They don't understand his matchups and they don't understand how to play the hero. I will be coming out with a guide very soon that's very beginner friendly, so you guys can really start to see how strong this hero is and realize that Lone Druid's actually not that hard to play. It does take a little bit of micro, obviously, to micro the bear and do some really cool plays that you can do with the bear, and just overall micro is always going to make you a better Lone Druid, but it's not the end all be all. At the end of the day, Lone Druid is just such a freaking strong hero, insanely hard to break down. One of the reasons you don't see the hero very often is because people are scared to pick Lone Druid. They see this hero as being kind of like a meepo where you have to be the god of players to be playing this hero. Not necessarily, guys. It just takes practice. Get your games in. It's similar to you guys trying to learn how to play Invoker. It does take a lot of games to get better at the hero. With time, you will become a much better Lone Druid player, even if you're not that great at micro. I personally am not that great at micro, and I consider myself a pretty good Lone Druid player, and I really enjoy this hero, and I consider it to be one of my best heroes of all time. When I started playing Lone Druid, half the time I would just be clicking on the bear for the most part and just auto attacking, and I wasn't doing anything crazy, and the hero was just pumping out damage. You're able to win a lot of your lane matchups. You just need to make sure you are playing it into good Lone Druid games. This hero does suffer from having a garbage laning phase, and it can be very hard to recover because you don't really farm that quickly. You farm well in lane, but you don't really farm jungle very well. If you are relegated to the jungle very early on, you don't really do too well. Even though you have shared lifesteal between the Lone Druid and the bear, which does make survivability much better, it's still not that great when it comes to it. So make sure you guys are picking this into good Lone Druid games, good matchups, especially melee heroes. But going up against heroes like Venomancers, Vipers, Huskars, Zeus, these matchups are a little bit more difficult for the Lone Druid because they're going to be taking out the bear. And Lone Druid without the bear, you might as well just go for the bear necessities where you're just building all around the main Druid. And you could do that. It's still a viable option. It's not as good as it was before when this was the go-to facet. I think Bare Necessities has its place with Lone Druid. If you just kind of get out drafted and you still want to play the Lone Druid and want to have a decent laning phase, then make sure you're going for Bare Necessities if you can't really revolve around the bear. Another thing I see as well is people just feeding away the bears, letting the bear constantly take tower damage or just constantly be inside the creep wave taking a bunch of chip damage. Make sure you guys are watching for the bear, guys. Feeding away the bear is a lot to give away, especially in the lane. Make sure you're not feeding away your bears. Make sure you're paying attention so you can resummon, and make sure you are playing this hero optimally. One thing you guys can also keep in mind is that Lone Druid can act as a mid laner, but can also act as an off laner. The hero has a lot of tank ability, and the main Druid can actually buy auras. That's something a lot of players tend to not do, but I personally enjoy. If my bear has pretty strong items and is doing quite a bit of damage and the team doesn't have damage issues, I typically will go for items like Vlad's Pipe, items to buff up my team with the main Druid, and it's going to make you tankier on the Lone Druid. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are Lone Druid spammers. I would definitely like to know in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.